So yeah, for today's class, we'll focus on the legs and the hips and standing and walking. So strength and mobility in the lower half of the body. And then if we have time, we have 45 minutes left, we can then focus on upper body. So arms, shoulders, torso. But before we start, who would like to do opening prayer and ask for Babaji's blessings?
Anish can do. Anish.
Yeah, Anish, you're smiling.
Again, is it audible now? No? Okay. Yeah, please close your eyes. Relax your shoulders. Inhale and exhale. Visualize a beautiful lotus in your heart. And visualize your Guru, presence of your Guru. And visualize his feet and offer flowers to the feet. We'll chant with 3 Om. 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 Akandamandalakaram Vyaptam yena characharam Tatpadam darshitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurum militam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Brahmanantam Paramasukhatam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatidam Gagana Sadrishyam Tattvamasyadilakshyan Yegam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvati Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatītam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami Dhyanamoolam Guru Murti Pujamoolam Guru Padam Mandramoolam Guru Vakyam Mokshamoolam Gurur Kripa Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacham Malam Sharirasya Cha Vaidyakena Yopakarodam Pravaram Munina Padanjalim Pranjaliranatosmi Om Hrim Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Please open your eyes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Anish. It is so nice. So, wanted to see if anybody had a chance to do some research and come with suggestions on asanas that can focus on the lower body. One suggestion I have is, given that different people have different levels of mobility. There are some who can stand and walk a little bit or a lot. There's others for whom standing is difficult and they can only be in a chair. And then there's some who are bedridden. I was thinking that maybe we can start with the first category, people who can stand and walk around, but maybe with lesser mobility. If they have more mobility, then you won't have to offer, so many modifications, but maybe lower mobility standing. That's my suggestion. But obviously, if you guys are about to, you have someone who's wanting to learn from you immediately, you tell us what the situation is and we can start in that place anyway. Okay to start here, or anyone wants to unmute and just make an alternate suggestion?
I think we should
I think
start.
I couldn't
Sorry,
make any.
Prakshi?
No, Anish was saying something, so I have no issue starting. Anish, you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I couldn't make any research on it. What about the
Okay.
things?
No issues. No issues.
Vikas, Chitra, and
I just googled it and found some. I couldn't also again go deep into it, like note it down. Only few things like sitting on chairs. A few things that got into my mind, so I couldn't go deep. So someone who can. I didn't go on to that. People who can stand and walk around like that. I didn't go. So people who can sit on a chair and do some flexions and bendings and extensions. Those things I just checked. So someone has a deeper thing, you can all share. Like.
Okay.
Deepa, one thing, I think it will be good that if you go ahead with what you are alive with, will pick up the threads. And also one clarity I need, when you are using the term mobility, what do you mean by mobility? They are unable to walk or something?
Yeah, with regards to legs, mobility can either be not able to walk at all or limited ability to walk.
So the
So,
problem is related to the legs. Huh?
We're focusing on legs to start with. So, some people can walk, but they'll walk like this, or they won't be able to walk much. So it's limited movement.
Okay.
Or, a lot of seniors can be worried about balance and they're often worried about falling over. So they might be using a walking stick to support their balance.
Because sometimes
So
mobility
that's
issues
another-
can also be related to their lower back injuries. Huh?
Correct. Yeah.
So we will target that also.
So you can. I was thinking we can start with the leg. You'll have to address the lower back a bit. But
Okay.
There's basically 4 areas, right? There's legs, there's your back, there's your arms, and there's like the head, neck area. So I was thinking that maybe back, neck, like spine from head to bottom of the back, we could treat as one category and deal with down the track and focus more on that. And for now, just focus more on the legs. But as you've rightly identified, for walking itself, you do need the hips and the lower back. It's okay. It's okay if it overlaps a bit. We'll only learn twice. No issue.
Okay.
So I would like to suggest, before we all, since we are on this topic of entire thing, I would like to suggest our certification of yoga, this book. Okay. This book, I'll show you the chapter.
What are you showing?
Yeah. So I would suggest each one of you to go through this particular chapter. Okay. The chapter number 8. Okay.
Page number?
Page number
206. 2-6.
Yeah, 203 or 204.
Deepa?
This has, yeah, 206 it starts from. It has got every muscle they have discussed, every joint they have discussed, everything in detail they have given in this. I think because I was reading, since we have decided of discussing this, today I read this topic entirely, and since we don't know, I mean, at least I don't know much about our own anatomy, how exactly it works, and which joints and which muscles and what happens exactly. So after reading this, this is quite explanatory, this particular topic. So I would definitely request you all to read this topic, and there are quite a good points I got in this. So yeah, now whoever has done the research, maybe you all can start. Deepa, you must have done no, some research, then I will discuss, maybe I'll tell you.
Yeah, I actually want to add onto what Prachi is saying. She's making a very good point. It is very important, especially when working with more fragile bodies, to have that understanding of anatomy. And here, you're going to, this book, actually, this, just to highlight the key things that we need to be learning. One is the actual anatomy, which is just, the bones and the joints and the muscles. But I think even more important is the physiological side of things, which is how it works. So understanding the different types of joints and how they're moving, and also what the joint structure is. So understanding the fluid, like you have synovial fluid between it, and you have the, what's that, hyaline cartilage around it also. So you should understand what a bone is, and what is there in a healthy bone versus an unhealthy bone, what a healthy joint is and what is there in an unhealthy joint. And I think there also should be some basic understanding of what the major diseases are in this area. So arthritis, both rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis, everyone should have familiarity with. And also loss in bone density is another very common thing, and muscle atrophy is another common thing. So I would say those are 4 issues pertaining to the lower body, I mean to all of the joints and bone structure, that there should be that understanding. And then the other thing that goes into, and we did do it in our yoga teacher training, is the different movements. So having that basic understanding of like abduction, adduction, circumduction, because especially with this group, they may, more of them, be going to physiotherapy. They may have these limitations and be seeing someone to support them. So the basic movements and plane of movements, that basic medical terminology and understanding will go very far.
Correct. Deepa, this is what actually we have
Thank
to
you for
first,
raising that.
yeah, this is what actually I feel, that we should first understand all the areas of our body, and then we should start the classes for the, or other the training for the senior citizens, because otherwise we will start something and something else will happen, then it will be very difficult for them to manage. So that's why I thought, let me first go thoroughly with all the joints and all the understanding of physiology. So this was my concern while doing this. But while reading this, there's a lot of joints, since we are working through the joints, and as you mentioned, this abduction, extension, flexion, all these points we have to take it into consideration. Also, I think you all are aware that all the Sukshma Vyayamas they have also mentioned here. So all the Sukshma Vyayama, if you can focus right now to begin with, and maybe, because what happens is, through Sukshma Vyayama, whatever is air inside our joints or that area, or whether they say the Vata, in Sanskrit they say Vat, which has been stuck at joints, that also Sukshma Vyayama removes. So from, they have actually in Hatha Yoga Pradipika also has mentioned, and this book also it has mentioned, that from top to bottom we should be doing Sukshma Vyayama every day with them. And then depends on the capability of this, the mobility and all, then the rest all the asanas. But yes, since we are discussing on the legs and all that, strengthening of legs and the lower body parts, I think Shalabhasana, leg raise, and Pavana Muktasana series really helps a lot. So and this is now I have actually started taking my class with my father-in-law, who is in a same position, who is having an issue. He's 84-year-old and who is having an issue of mobility. He walks very slowly. Every step he takes very carefully, and his lower back and his hip joints, everything has become so tight. Although he was a good yogi when he was young, rather he used to do a lot of yoga asanas and all. So because of that, maybe he is still surviving so well. But this is what now, since so many years he has not done anything, the all the joints and the muscles have become very stiff. So the stiffness has to first remove. That is what I have understood from him. Though he is very much interested doing Surya Namaskara, I have not yet started the Surya Namaskara with him. I told him that let's first first work on your muscles and strengthening of all the body parts and the joints and all, and then slowly we can start. Maybe after a month I'll plan to start the Surya Namaskara. And that is how I have started reading this, because I felt I should not be doing anything wrong with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you get the medical details, like health records of that person? Yeah, like who is that person?
No, he's my father-in-law, so I know I know everything what he
I
requires.
thought you were a
But
student.
yeah, but Shalabhasana, since 4-5 sittings we have done, and Shalabhasana, leg raise, and Pavana Muktasan, that is only the Pavana Muktasan, that is pressing the tummy with the legs. This is giving him lot of relief. And he's saying that I feel that, in just in a 4-5 sittings, he says that, I'm feeling much better now. So I
Okay.
think this, since we are concerned about this leg part and the lower back portion, I think these two asanas really help. I have just tried these asanas with him and the
Great.
Sukshma Vyayama. So you others want to say something? Yes, so I would definitely add into my asanas then.
Yeah.
Prachi, Sukshma Vyayam and what are the two asanas?
Shalabhasana, leg raise. Okay, leg raise is the prone. Okay, and supine is Shalabhasana, right? If I'm mistaken? And then Pavana
Supine is on your back, prone is on your stomach.
Yes, and
So Shalabhasana is prone.
prone, yes. And Pavana Muktasan series. So Pavana Muktasan series, we are not doing entirely because he's having his hips are very tight. So we are not doing the cuddling and rotation of leg and all. Only the Pavana stomach pressure with the leg. That itself we are doing. And yes, Bhujangasana. Bhujangasana is helping him a lot, because his muscles are the shoulder muscles are getting. But since we are discussing the first part, these are the things. Anything would you like to suggest me that I should be taking?
Yeah, actually, Chitra shared one video of last time, the yoga day. Our Sadishan sir performed couple of asanas, where he started with some Sushma Vyayams, with the ankles, toes, and all. So the way he is doing a different way, like he's lying down and sitting in the asana. So the people who are old people, they can sit rather than standing. So I have watched that video. Yeah. So I think there are a couple of asanas that is useful for the older people.
Okay.
Just check.
I will check those. And this Sukshma Vyayama, yes, he is doing, he's sitting and doing this Sukshma Vyayama because he cannot stand for such a long time. He's having the balancing issue. So we are doing with sitting and maybe lying down only.
And I have also my father-in-law. He is a Parkinson patient. So I have Googled and I found some asanas like
Yeah.
he cannot balance. So he will lose the balance if he's tend to lose the balance. So I will do some stretching asanas, on your toes, raise the heels with the help of one, stool or one chair. Catch hold of that stool and so, and also some mouth exercises, like mouth exercise in the sense their faces will get stiff, and so they will have to put some water in the inside the mouth and roll it inside, and just and also with the tongue they will have to roll it. So it's
Oh,
kind of relaxing the face muscles.
okay.
And also Parvadasana. So he will be sitting in a Sukhasana or whatever the comfortable cross-leg position. Then we'll be raising two hands like this. We'll be like this, Parvadasana.
Okay.
Inhale here and exhale here.
Okay.
So, and there are a couple of Bhujangasana, as you said, Shalabhasana kind of thing, but he cannot do all of this stuff. And also, like one asana is that we will put our tongue out, right? What was that?
Singhasana.
Lion pose.
Singhasana.
Simhasana. So that will also help for those people because
Yeah.
so I have started teaching him like do like that.
Yeah,
Very difficult to do.
even yoga mudra, what we do, one can sit on the platform or the bed or anywhere, and we can do like this, no? Like I'll just show you. So by sitting this way and holding the hands behind, so that is also giving a nice stretch to arms because shoulders are also nicely stretched, and even the digestion process it is helping. So this also. So yoga mudra with the legs down, we can do that as well.
Okay.
In case they don't want to, because these people cannot sit in Vajrasana and all that, no?
Okay.
So I think we should pause because we just went into all sorts of different things. Maybe we go step by step
Yes.
so we can record
Yes.
it. So you guys, it's good that you've gotten that out, but now remember it because as we come to each phase, standing, sitting, lying, you can then raise it. One thing, so one of the things I heard from both of you, especially with Anish, is that is it your grandfather
No,
that
father-in-law.
you were talking about?
Father-in-law.
Your father-in-law, right? Yeah. So that is the case of someone who cannot balance and has a serious risk of falling. So you have to do it sitting. But for a lot of seniors, they just worry that they're going to fall or have become lazy. Like actually they become lazy and gotten used to not walking around. And as a result of, because that culture is there, oh no, you rest, you do this, you do things lying down. Everyone, even yoga teachers start treating them like that. Like, okay, we'll give you a nice sitting on a bed wala asana and sitting on a chair wala asana. So that's why I wanted to start with standing, because if you can get them mobile, the greatest gift is their freedom, that they can do things for themselves and are not dependent on others. Because psychologically you start going down as soon as you have to get someone else to do something for you, and it also affects the relationships because then that person has an opinion on what you're doing is correct, incorrect, whether they want to do it for you or not. It strains the thing. So if we can get the mobile, so that's why I wanted to start with standing and how we can modify the different standing asanas we have. So the starting, I was thinking we start from the bottom, like the lowest part of our body, and go up. So the first one is the toes. So we've learned Tadasana. Tadasana for them will be scary. Doing it for a lot of people, it will be scary. So you can ask them to either like hold a chair, or if there's a wall, that's the best option, is to hold a wall and then to slowly just come up. And when we do Tadasana, we go all the way to the tip of our toes. You're not asking them to do that. You just slightly raise the heel off the ground so that the pressure is shifted to the front of the foot and you're activating a different set of muscles. there's two ways you can start off. So, there's two things with all of this that we're trying to do. One is build flexibility, because often they become very stiff. And the other is build strength, because the foundation to be able to stand has to be both you can move around to get your balance, but that you have the strength to actually hold the weight. So for that, for flexibility, you go up, down, up, down, like you do it dynamically in movement. And for strength, you have to hold it for an extended period of time. But beyond that, you can decide what you want to do with the arms or whatever. But Tadasana is a good and easy one. And also, if you think they can do it, you get them to hold on to the wall, and you can do that pada, whatever that one is, where they rotate their ankles standing. If they can do it standing, because naturally this strengthens the other foot also a lot. If they can stand on one leg, what a great way to help them strengthen all the parts of their leg. And it's not too difficult. So that's the first one. I can move on to other things unless somebody else wants to share something for ankles and feet. For standing.
Yeah, there is the Sadish sir video, no? So in that video, he is demonstrating while sitting. This ankle rotation. So Chitra shared in our group, WhatsApp group. It is very useful, I think. You can watch it later.
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
What Deepa wants
And
to
see,
say,
ankle
Anish, I think Deepa wants to say that, if we have to give the confidence to the person, the one who is less mobile and they want to be, we have to give them the confidence. So with the support and all, let them do with the standing itself first initially. And if you think the person is like, if having a major issue, like kind of, you're saying your father-in-law and all that, yeah, that case maybe we have to find out how we can do with the sitting. The same asana can be done with the sitting and all. So, but right now I think her concern is with the standing itself, how can we train them with each part of our body. Am I correct, Deepa?
Yeah. And Anish, you're right. Ankle rotation can happen standing, seated, and lying down. And we'll repeat all of these things in all three levels.
Okay.
Okay. So then I think we can, yeah.
Yeah, go Chitra.
Are you, yeah. Okay, so we can include this toe, like moving the toes up and down, like that also we can hold, and we can like push the toes down and move it towards us. That also we can include, right?
Deepa, you are on mute.
Yeah, I was just agreeing with Chitra, and I was saying another thing you could also do is while they're on one foot, you curl the toes and open the toes. You can also do that. And what Prachi was saying before is, I think the art of being a teacher is knowing your student well enough to know when to push them and when to pull them back. So you'll have to take that call based on the person, because you want to keep them safe, but you also want to take them a bit out of their comfort zone.
So
Prachi, you're going to add something?
Yeah, so similar way how you have shown this with the support of your, with the support of the wall, you have shown the ankle rotation and all. Similar way, we can even do knee rotation and kick, knee and kick. That asana is there with the support of the wall.
Correct.
We can do that as well. As well as,
Correct.
as well as the hip joints also. Hip joints also we can, again with the support, we can just move our the hips, and we can rotate the hips. I mean, we can, I'll show you how it is going to be. My laptop. So with this support, maybe we can. So I'm holding the grill of my window, so that is giving me a good hold. Like
Correct.
this is quite, yeah, this is quite grip,
That's
nice
quite
grip I'm
hard.
getting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite hard. And then I'm doing the ankle, the knee rotation, clockwise, anti-clockwise, and then the hip rotation as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, like, you know, when we go up the leg, it becomes more difficult. So if you're, I can definitely, you'll have to see, first you should try out, can they even lift their foot up this much? If they can, and they're doing it well over maybe 1 or 2 classes, then maybe you can graduate them to trying this one, right? And before you even do this one, circumduction, this is what this movement is called. So when you bring this, it depends on the joint, but one way is extension, the other one is flexion. And then when you move it to side, you have adduction and abduction. And when you rotate, it's called circumduction. So they generally say before you do circumduction, because circumduction is all of the directions together, you first should do just simple movements. So up, down, side to side, flexion, extension, abduction, adduction. So similarly for the knee, what you would first do is you would lift one leg up, holding the side, and maybe you'd first say straighten the leg, bend the leg, straighten the leg, bend the leg. And same with hip, you'd first try, you lift the leg up forward, you take the leg backward, you take it to the side, you take it to the other side. If if they're able to do all of that really well, then they're probably actually a normal student and not a senior student anyway. But then you can, you know, try this hip circumduction thing, and like Prachi said, you can hold on to, they can hold on to the side. But it can be tough, and you really want to make sure they don't fall. But sticking to the knee, so if we're graduating from feet and ankles up to the knees, then there's actually a whole range of asanas that start opening up to us, the ones that we've been doing. So so we talked about this last time. A lot of one of the big areas that the muscles become tight is this hip area. A lot of seniors will just keep their legs together. It's they generally will not pull their legs apart. They get a bit scared. So as a result, you see a lot of people are going to walk like this also. They're not relaxing their hips and walking normally and taking large steps. They're taking small steps with the hip tightened. So one other thing that's usually a good idea is to do as many asanas that normally, like say normally when we're doing our forward bend or our back bend or even our twist, at our age, we'll usually keep our legs together. But for seniors, you try and ask them to keep their legs apart as much as possible and doing all of the asanas with their legs wide.
This is very good point.
The next,
actually, and we get the stability also. They don't realize
correct.
it, but by spreading the leg, you get the stability also. You have the, no? It's a very good point, Deepa.
And on that point that Prachi is saying, the second thing that gives stability is the ability to bend the knees. So that's the next thing. Normally we would have done Utkatasana like this. You can eventually bring them to this, but better start legs out wide. It could be hip width, or even I would suggest wider than the hips, and just going down. Depending on their knees, this is where, you know, you'll need to understand what their knee situation is, whether they have arthritis of some sort. If their knees are not in a very good place, just very lightly, you'll notice often we lock our knees when we stand. So you're just asking them to relax the knee. So it's just bent slightly. So just going from tightening to relaxing. If they can do that, then slowly coming down a little bit and slowly coming up. You can do it dynamically. And if they're able to, after doing dynamically, you ask them to hold it. Maybe start with 3 seconds, then go up to 4 seconds. And this is a nice thing you can build up over many classes so that they can feel and you can see the progression. Like they started with 3 seconds and like by the end of 10 weeks, they're at 10 seconds. And maybe they started just with bending this much and by the end, they're at this much. So this is the variation for Utkatasana. And similarly, you can do the hands. It's obviously stronger if their hands are in front. So you can decide. And then the next asana you can do is again just from this standing position, like after you've done Utkat. So see, what you can do is you set them up starting like this and you keep their legs there. So you can go arms up, forward bend. You can go arms back up, back bend. Then you can do Utkatasana and then you can do Virasana. So the way you do that is you get them to turn one foot out at 90 degrees, other foot out at 45 degrees, and then naturally shift and just little bit. You can ask them to do little bits of this Virasana. And in some schools, they didn't teach it to us this way. Classically, there's only one Virasana, which is your foot is in one direction and your back foot is in 45 degrees. But in some other schools, like they do a Warrior 2, where your back foot is not the back foot anymore. There's one foot facing forward, one foot facing the side. And instead of your hips facing this way, your hips are facing this way. And this is actually very good for opening their hips up, is if they can if the mat is on the long way, if they can have their hips facing the long side of the mat and their one leg facing the front, then you're bending it sideways like this while looking. And you can look this way also, but it opens the hip up in a slightly different way. I don't know if that made sense. Did that make sense, what I said?
I don't
Yeah?
know.
No?
No idea. I don't know.
No idea.
No, it should
No
actually
idea.
make sense. I mean, that is, let us check. I mean, we'll practice. We'll find out exactly whatever you're saying, no? We'll
Mm.
check
Yeah.
how does it
So-
work, because it should not happen that, it is not in alignment and something,
Correct. Correct.
else comes up, because alignment is very essential for senior citizens.
Yeah, I'll explain it again. I'll show how we would do the asana and then I'll show the modification for seniors. So Veerbhadra asana, right? You've taken a large step forward, back foot out 45 degree, front foot straight, and then you're lunging. This one you're clear on, right? Yeah,
Yes.
thumbs up. Yeah, okay. So here, what are the hips doing? The hips aren't facing the side. The hips are facing the front like this, in the same direction that your bent leg is in, your hips are facing that way. So this is one way of doing. So this in other schools is called Veerbhadra 1, Warrior 1. The other option that some schools teach, BYVK doesn't, is that you turn the back foot out at a 90 degree like this. And instead of your hips facing that way, your hips are facing front. So the hip alignment is like this. And then you bend, you keep your arms up and you turn your head. But the hip is still facing this way. My head may be turning this way, but hips are this way. And you're like this. So in this one, when this foot is at 45 degree, my hip is facing forward, right? And when the back foot is 90 degree, my hip is facing sideward, even if my head is going that way. I don't know if that is making sense. You'll have to try it out.
Yes.
Actually, yes, I have practiced this one. I remember I practiced this one.
Yeah.
with Rajiv. Yes.
Yeah, you would have practiced it with Rajiv, exactly. So the reason I'm making this distinction for seniors is when you do it 45 degrees and stepping forward, you're stretching their hip area this way, like it's a forward backward wala stretching. As soon as you turn this out and turn the hip sideways, you're stretching it in a different area. It's not back to front, it's side to side, because hips have to go out like this and hips have to stretch in this direction. It's two different muscle areas. And so this Veerbhadra option, it does a lot of things at the same time. It opens up the hips and it strengthens the knee. So it's like, I feel like it's like one of those magic asanas that do so many things. So for walking, Veerbhadra is very, very good for strengthening the lower legs and for improving knee issues also. Because a lot of one of the biggest things that hips and knees are the big things that hold people back, but knees often more. The knee problem starts earlier. Sorry, that's the more correct thing. Hips usually start later, but knees start earlier. So if we're doing a lot of weight bearing on the knees, then you start building up the muscles and even the fluids, they say, the synovial fluids in the joint. That fluid gets replenished when you're doing weight bearing exercises. So it's really important that this is where, like, this is why I really advocate standing above sitting. In sitting, it's very hard to do any weight bearing. All sitting is going to do is some movement, but you'll never strengthen it. And so that mobility cannot come back in a big way.
That's true. Yeah.
So
I will
I
stop.
feel,
Does somebody else want to add anything?
so you know what, when you said that hip starts later on and the knee starts first, I feel it's they go parallelly, they go simultaneously. It starts because if the hips are having an issue, knees, we don't move the knees, and then we don't actually realize that hips are giving the problem, and then we don't sit. That's why we earlier we used to sit for glue or the actually, and then that is how we used to give massage to our hip joints. Yeah, hip joints and knee joints, so they are working together, and then they work adversely with each other.
Yeah, that's
So
a good point.
we have to work on both the things, even if they are not complaining for hip joints maybe right now, but only for knee joints. We have to also work on that because the muscles are getting tight day by day because they are not moving the hip, or they are not moving to avoid movement for knees. They are not moving their hip joints also. So both the things has to be worked hand in hand.
One thing I want to ask. It's good point that you were mentioning that regarding the asanas, which one are for flexibility and some asanas are for the strength, right? But then, for example, firstly, on a very on a hierarchy, what should we target first, flexibility or strength, or does it have to be on the whom we'll be teaching on? Will he requiring more of flexibility or more of strength? How does it work?
Yeah, you have to take that call now. Like I think of my grandfather. He's become so stubborn, he won't stand. So you have to work with both the psychology and the physically what they're capable of. And it's actually very hard for him to walk. So I first just, we'll go into it if we have time. We're running out of time. I've just started with chair yoga where he just tries to move his foot forward and back. So knees are getting basic mobility. So it really depends where they're at, because if they cannot move the joint, then how will they strengthen? If they cannot bend the knee to begin with, then he cannot strengthen. So you'll have to take that call. And also to recall that a lot of asanas do a bit of both. It's actually some asanas are more strength, less flexibility. Others are more flexibility, less strength. But something like Veerbhadra asana is a magic asana because it's doing both at the same time. It's opening up hip flexibility, but also strengthening the thighs, the knees, the ankles at the same time. But this is where, as Prachi said, if you study the anatomy and get a strong sense of what the anatomy of the legs are, the muscles and joints, you'll eventually start intuitively realizing what joint, bone, and muscle is working. And I think that's a really important part of us developing as yoga. I'll show you, this is crazy. You should not get this book, but I have this book called Yoga Anatomy, and it literally, asana by asana, will tell you, like Parvatasana, it shows you all the main muscles that are being used. And it even names the muscles, and it tells you whether it's flexion, extension, all of those things it goes. I think it's true. I rarely open it up. I think it just is there for intimidating most of us. But somewhere,
share the details of this book. I'll buy. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's called Yoga Anatomy.
Okay, that's it. Okay, who specifically? Okay,
but I personally did not find that one so helpful. I found this one helpful first because I'm still a beginner to understanding this, and so this just taught me the major muscle areas. So I had some idea of what bones. It tells you bones, joints, and muscles. This one, I'll photograph and send it.
Yes. Good.
But yeah, most helpful I found is just some YouTube videos that through cartoons explain basic anatomy. That for me was the most helpful. You know, getting that basic idea of, because for kids they make, and we're kids in this, so they're really fun.
Yeah.
And in case anyone's wondering, the only reason Anish, you were asking if I was already teaching. I've done one yoga teacher training before. And that yoga teacher training was a lot more focused on anatomy and yoga therapy side of things. Hence, there's some understanding of that. So I think we've reached 1 hour now. I don't have my...
Yes.
Yeah, we've reached 1
Yes,
hour.
yes, it is 8:30.
So then let's stop and we'll continue next Thursday. And maybe if the time works, then we can keep it fixed 7:30, 1 hour once a week, and we can keep building up on it.
Sure, sure. And we should have, we'll come we'll study and we'll read something on that, and then little be prepared, and then it will help us.
Yeah, we'll continue with
So-
legs then, but then we can move into the seated and lying wala leg asanas to start.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Chitra wants,
Thanks all.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who wants to do
Chitra.
closing prayer?
Chitra,
Okay, I'll do. All of you sit in a comfortable position. Relax yourself. Let us thank Babaji for helping and guiding us to come up with good pointers. Let us thank each other. Let us thank Deepa for coordinating this. Let us seek blessings for our future sessions too. And now we'll chant Purnamata. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Open your eyes slowly.
it was nice prayer. Both of you and Anish, Chitra enjoyed. Thank you, Deepa.
Deepa.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Prachi, Anish, Chitra, Vikas.
Vikas, everybody,
talk
bye,
next week.
bye. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
More than discussion, we are enjoying seeing each other, I think.